What if I told you that your life as you live it now, you must live over and over again, innumerable times more, and that every joy, every sorrow, every feeling, every experience that you've had, you must live over and over again? Would that be good news or bad news? Nietzsche proposed this thought experiment in order to point out how our attitude toward each moment echoes into eternity. We have a choice to embrace or lament every experience. Each moment represents opportunities for change, yet we often feel locked onto a track without the power to choose. This feeling is explored in fiction, most obviously through a narrative device known as a time loop. When a character experiences the same moment over and over again, they could be stuck in a time loop. This device was made famous in movies like Groundhog Day, Donnie Darko, and Looper. Each story finding its own expression of this concept and almost universally centering on the character's quest to break out of the loop and change their situation.
I'm reliving the same day over and over.
While most stories follow a character as they adapt to changing circumstances, these stories are about a character struggling to change despite static circumstances. The character's principal struggle in these stories is with their inability to affect the world around them, their lack of agency and meaning. One of my favorite depictions of a journey to break out of a cycle and become a self is not a time loop movie at all though. Joe versus the Volcano, despite being problematic and cringeworthy in many places, visualizes this challenge brilliantly in its opening scenes. The titular Joe, played by Tom Hanks, is shown as an undifferentiated cog. He has nothing to live for. He's not really living. He's just going through the motions. And so is everyone around him. Being stuck in the finite makes change feel impossible because you voluntarily subjugate your will to the group. You want to be part of something. It feels safe to avoid making your own decisions. Under those circumstances, creativity is impossible. And without creativity and imaginative will and hopeful curiosity, it's impossible to develop the self because we're constantly tensing up, trying to harden ourselves, become self-sufficient, isolated, and that keeps us paralyzed, unable to follow through on the small daily steps that would define our chosen path. Either we could know what the next step is, but then become paralyzed by all of the possible choices we could make, or perhaps we want to take an action, but no one else around us is behaving in that way, or making that particular choice, or thinking how we're thinking. They're certainly not expressing it, and that can cause us to hesitate. That hesitation causes me to stay on a familiar prescribed path, follow what everyone else is doing. No time to think about doing something different. In fact, the group is safe. More and more, going outside the prescribed social norms seems dangerous. And it can be. But often, we use this discomfort as justification to avoid doing the work of bringing ourselves into focus.
So where would you like to go?
Excuse me?
Where would you like to go, sir?
I thought I might do some shopping today.
All right. Where would you like to go shopping?
I don't know.
All right.
Where would you go shopping?
What for? What do you need?
Clothes?
What kind of clothes? What's your taste?
Well, I don't exactly know. Why are you stopping the car?
They just hired me to drive the car, sir. I'm not here to tell you who you are.
I didn't ask you to tell me who I am.
You're hinting around about clothes. That happens to be a very important topic to me, sir. Clothes. Mr.
Banks?
Banks. Clothes makes the man. I believe that. You say to me you want to go shopping, want to buy clothes, but you don't know what kind. You leave that hanging in the air like I'm going to fill in the blanks. Now, that to me is like asking me who you are, and I don't know who you are. I don't want to know. It's taken me all my life to find out who I am, and I am tired now. You hear what I'm saying?
Being stuck in the finite is also dangerous. Not only does it waste our time, but it makes us targets to be exploited. We're in a position where we've lost connection with what makes us as individuals feel confident and fulfilled and content. So we have a hole inside us that we don't know how to fill. And in this vulnerable position, we become highly susceptible to advertisers who claim to be selling the answer to our problems. Advertisers use our confusion, our general malaise, and our desire to be part of a group and manipulate our attention to keep us stuck in the finite in order to harvest our surplus value, time, and money. The newest version of this is in online communities. We offer our time, our attention, and our money in exchange to be on the platform, to be accepted, entertained, and given an ersatz social outlet. Fortnite is a popular first-person shooter game and builder, which actually functions more like a digital shop with a first-person shooter game attached. Fortnite's developer Epic doesn't make money by selling the game. It's actually free to download and play. Instead, they make money by operating the game as a live service. Instead of a game that you own, it's like a park that you buy a season pass to play in. In addition, players can buy cosmetics like outfits and gestures called emotes for their avatars in a shop that uses a game-specific currency in order to skirt gambling laws and other financial regulations. Although it may not seem like in-game cosmetics are a big deal, each of the stock player characters are mostly undifferentiated by design, and when over 60% of players are under the age of 24 and increasingly using the internet as their sole means of socializing and entertainment, the significance of cosmetics become hugely important. The player with the ultra-rare, expensive skin is cool and probably hangs out in game a lot. The player with the stock character is probably a baby with comparatively less to offer. And the need to monetize everything and keep players within the system is insatiable. Fortnite has begun hosting entertainment events in-game. Most often, this has been in the form of concerts, live or pre-recorded, that players can attend in-game. It's an opportunity to listen to music, chat with friends, and show off your cosmetics and emotes. But on a deeper level, hanging out in Epic's game platform Fortnite is not an opportunity for you to watch a concert or have fun with your friends. It is an incentive for you to watch more advertisements, to buy more cosmetics. It is a branded content crossover opportunity for Epic and their corporate partners. Fortnite is a social space where you pay an ongoing fee to be socially relevant. Just like the workplace and any other system that extracts surplus value from you while distracting you from any whisper of fulfillment that isn't based on consumption, large corporations profit off our disconnection and therefore are invested in keeping us disconnected. We live in the factory, we play in the factory, we were born in the factory. Any change from this system is unthinkable by design. Every service you regularly use has been exploiting these attention economy tactics or is actively developing them. Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, they all want to keep you on the platform longer and longer to show you more ads to keep growing revenue. User engagement goes up, investment goes up. Then the owners can afford to buy rockets and become space vampires.
これからどうすればいいか、どうすれば人生うまくいくか、実はもう分かっているんだ。自己啓発書も200冊は読んだ。自分で書こうと思ったこともある。すべて分かってるんだ。
じゃあなんだ。怖いんだ。怖い。
生活パターンを変えることが。変えてしまうと想定外の何かが起こりそうで。親父が倒れた時でさえ誰も今の生活を変えろと言わなかったし、このままじゃダメだってのは分かってる。でもいつまでもこのままでいたい。ログアウトしたくない。
This is the future that Facebook, now Meta, envisions. People will choose to live in a virtual gift shop if the alternative is being virtual homeless. The gift shop is entertaining, and it's one of the few options that people have for socializing. You'll purchase items from their store in order to improve your simulated life experience and status. while being advertised to by the other manufacturers that dominate your real physical life experience. You'll be intentionally kept sad and wondering why, trying to fill that hole, shuffling around through predetermined routes, hungry for enlightenment, a sign.
Brains.
We have a word for creatures that don't think for themselves and act solely on external stimuli. That word is zombie. If you agree with the assertions that I've made up to this point, you might agree that widespread zombification is already upon us. Huge numbers of people are already being stripped of their will, just like a zombie apocalypse. But in this case, the zombies are being manufactured intentionally for use as livestock by capitalists, predictable consumers, and laborers. Zombies are famously hungry for human flesh, especially that delicious gray blob of thinking fat that I mentioned a moment ago, brains. Zombies cannibalize other people for survival's sake because disarray and fear of others makes it difficult to organize for the common good. If you fear your neighbor, you're less likely to join together with them for any kind of meaningful life improvements that might change the pattern. It makes the general population easier to control when they're fighting amongst themselves. We allow ourselves to be turned into zombies because it's easy. Life is hard and scary, and when an alternative is presented that seems clear and has some benefits, we become zombies because we're afraid that we aren't capable of making decisions that will produce equivalent results. We start following others and join groups out of fear of selfhood and exercising our own will. But rather than brains, we're kept in a docile state with fast food, video on demand, same-day deliveries, and narratives about conflicting ideologies. As long as the treat machine keeps working, we will continue to march forward, turning the hamster wheel of industry, mindlessly following the same patterns. When a concept gets as big and universal as the zombie, it tends to lose context. It's important to remember that the word zombie comes from Haiti during the Atlantic slave trade, and the history of the word zombie is related to the idea of stripping away a person's will so that they can be turned from a human being into a mindless slave. And although the fear of death and discomfort can transform a person into a zombie, that's not the only possible outcome. Occasionally, a shock to the system, an unforeseen event, forces a change which can alter or modify the loop, can cause a zombie to wake up. Confronted by the overwhelming reality of their situation, some zombies are able to regain their will and become revolutionaries. Revolutionaries are not afraid of discomfort. In fact, they embrace it as part of the human condition. It's something that they've always known. They're not afraid of it. And they are what the powerful fear more than anything, because the revolutionary spirit spreads and it destabilizes the status quo. More and more zombies become aware that they have free will and nothing to lose. They begin to demand change as a group, unified. The entire paradigm shifts. Now the zombies are the good guys. It's no coincidence that so much of our popular fiction demonizes zombies and tacitly encourages indiscriminately killing them with headshots. What does a headshot do? It destroys the will. Cui bono? The zombies are on our side. The zombies are us. To dare is to lose one's footing momentarily. Not to dare is to lose one's self. An individual sparks the group to start thinking, organizing, acting in their own self-interest. This change is akin to breaking the time loop, making a meaningful change. It threatens the comfortable, who have never known discomfort and who fear it above all else. This is why both the powerful and the most lifeless of the zombies alike will put so much effort into suppression of the revolutionary spirit. Without support, a random revolutionary is simply an eccentric person, easily dealt with and able to achieve relatively little. at best becoming a martyr to a forgotten dream. Overcoming the inertia of the loop isn't possible through individual willpower alone. Self-help is a myth. There is no progress without the support of others. We need strong communities. Our salvation is bound up in the people around us, which is why our physical communities have been under attack for decades, centuries. Our communities are how we wake up and resolve the zombie apocalypse with enlightened individuals. Emerging from isolation and being active in your community is the only way to realize that you are not alone, that everyone is thinking. Maybe not exactly what you're thinking, but everyone is thinking some version of, man, this is pretty messed up. Life is tough. I wish someone cared about me. Things could be better if we worked together. We could treat each other better. Things could be better. And they can. People do care about you. People who don't even know you yet. And you care about them too. You just don't know it yet. And your salvation is bound together. This is what it means to be human. This is what it means to wake up.
You're coming into focus, kid.
Shazam.
Characters in time loops ultimately need to regain their will and express agency in a personally meaningful way. This requires overcoming the fear of exile and discomfort, being comfortable with the idea of living without external approval, the familiarity, comfort, and safety of the group. Then return to the group with your fire and be a guide to help others go forward together. To escape the finite, plan and follow through with the practical actions that will lead you to your ultimate destiny. What would you do if you were all in? What would the outcome be? Will you ever know if you don't try? The purpose of doing something is not to succeed, but to determine if success is possible, to cross it off your list or ride that curiosity into deeper questions and deeper meaning. We are not undead creatures. We have limited time to shuffle around through our patterns. What patterns would you choose if you were going to die in 10 years? What would you do? What would your life have meant to others? What joy would you bring? Start working on that. Making choices that destiny demands from moment to moment and diminishing the distractions so you can show up as your best self, to be awake and maybe help other zombies wake up through your example. What can you actually start doing right now? What can you do even when you feel depressed? What values and mantras and allies will remind you to keep pushing? I don't doubt that I'll be able to do big things at some point in the future. But for now, I can find fulfillment and create positive ripple effects in other ways that fit into my life as it is, right here in my community. What's the next step? What's the next step for you? To be a self requires that one balance the opposing forces of infinite possibility and finite stagnation in a manner that's unique to yourself. Because it's much easier to lose yourself in the infinite or the finite than it is to become a fully realized self. It requires vigilance, consistent effort, and courage above all else. It's not only the most important thing you will do in your life, it's also your biggest responsibility. As Kierkegaard said, to have a self, to be a self, is the greatest concession made to man, but at the same time, it is eternity's demand upon him. Thanks for watching. If you liked this video, please check out my UDEMY course, check out my book, go to my website, you can find them both there. I'll also leave links in the descriptions. Thank you for watching this video. Love you, bye.